Okay, we are theoretically live.
It's magic. It's working, I think.
I normally start these out with like some examples, like musical examples, but this is kind of a different interview. I still want to do those,
Yeah.
but Zach, we have you here, and I thought maybe you could just tee up, kind of what we're gonna see on your Instagram. I'm gonna share some of these videos.
Yes. I think to keep the story of a journey short, I'll start at the beginning and fast forward through it. But I think, like many drummers, I started out with a fascination of the question of how many things can I expand my skills and abilities into, asking the question of what. And then eventually learn the lesson of simplicity and serving the song and absolute necessity. And then that slow building of shame that I actually kind of still like challenging, technical, interesting concepts, but I can't let anybody know about it. And then like growing into myself, now I'm 40 years old and I don't care anymore. This is what I'm into. And so now the things I'm exploring are near and dear to my heart. They are deep into drum and rhythmic nerdery, and I am way into it and probably as enthused as ever about the creative output that I'm involved in these days.
All right,
So
cool.
it's a lot of polyrhythmic stuff, but we'll get into a couple more details when we watch a couple things.
Yep. Okay, here we go.
If you're familiar with it, this is probably maybe the weirdest version I've ever done. Check it out. I don't know. There's some threes, some fives, some fours. I don't know what's going on there. You can try it out. Syncopation page 38. If you're familiar with it. All right. Two ways to do the same concept, okay? I practice this way all the time. I come up with some sort of motif on the drums, and then I either A, accompany it with maybe a left foot hi-hat in varying distances apart, whether it's every second subdivision, third, or fourth, or I establish a constant pulse with my left foot, and I just change the subdivision level of my motif. Let me show you both ways, okay? Here's the motif. That's the idea, okay? So first thing I'll do is I will just play that in a constant, and I'm going to add my left foot going from every other subdivision to every third to every fourth and back down. Okay, so that's idea number one. Idea number two, constant pulse here, change my subdivision, eighth notes, triplets, 16th notes, and so on. So I'll take it a little slower, okay? So that's the eighth note, right? Right, same sort of idea. It's like a pulse shifting relationship. One option is change the speed of this. One option is change the speed of this. I love to do that sort of thing. All right. All right. Just gonna.
Let's see.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, this is hard work. Okay, try this out. So I've been working on this Matt Gartzka inspired part. Okay, he played with this band Victoria. The song is Kepler. It's an 11/8 hard hitting prog rock thing. Super cool over the bar line phrasing with some right hand stuff. I opted to take it into a little more of a like simmering dynamic, almost like an Afro-Cuban vibe. Okay, 3-3-3-2 for the ostinato. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2  3 1 2 3 1 2  3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2  3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1
3, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3. Okay, the threes kind of almost feel like a shuffle. and then the 2 is like a little short. Conga thing, sort of. So first challenge, just play the part. Second challenge, keep the rise symbol going on the 3s. Right? I got this over the bar line right hand thing, right? Or 4s. Instead. So now the 3s. That's our pattern.
All right, that's enough. All right. What on earth is going on?
Oh my goodness.
This is absurd. This is just pure absurdity. Like what? Okay, so we've got Zach Miller here. He is my favorite guy on Instagram for sure. I've had the honor of recording stuff with him. I'm just super excited to be able to present him here on the site once again. Zach, thank you for joining us. Please tell us a little about yourself.
Okay, so I'm in a wonderfully supportive Minneapolis music scene that has an incredibly wide range of support in the arts, ranging from different art forms, but specifically in music. There was so much space given to each person to, I think, find their identity and express that. And I'm grateful to be in this community, and there's an opportunity to share with each other and so much support. I just did a clinic last night on this stuff, and there were people I'd never met showing up at the door, and former students who have become peers, and peers who have become mentors. At every level, it's a strong community. And so I have a few really close friends here that I've spent time exploring improvised music as well as kind of intricately structured music that involves some of these rhythmic ideas. And I'm really grateful to have that in my community here. So I teach a good number of lessons. I do a lot of online lesson teaching and then teach as adjunct faculty at a couple small colleges here.
Yeah, so underselling yourself, of course. Zach, you've been playing drums for only a year and a half. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I wish. I started. I mean, if you go back to watching the home videos, started pretty young.
Yeah. And then
25 years or so.
25 years. And you've played with a whole variety of people. Can you share kind of the conservative end of the spectrum all the way to the what is going on here, make weird music side of things?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so, I mean, for example, this weekend there's an artist named Eric Hutchinson that you may recall. He's a New York artist, and it's singer-songwriter stuff. You probably recognize from the radio. He has a few hits that have been on mainstream stuff. So that's straight ahead, like groove-oriented, backbeat, feel-good, fun music. I play for a number of songwriters that go out and perform. Sarah Groves is an artist I play for. Traveled and toured with Jason Gray. These are artists kind of in the CCM pop world. And then, gosh, I played with the big band for a while. Used to play in pit orchestra stuff. I was in an orchestra for a while, for 10 years. But then I have my own music that I've written for a couple of different groups. There's a band called Put Down the Muffin that features all of my compositions. And there's a record called Charged Particles that was an homage to Chicoria, a Chicoria song that was inspiring to me back in the day. And that album is full of my own compositions. A lot of odd meter explorations, but trying to find ways where the odd meters still groove and feel good. I have my own project called Auburn Heights that's more like a through-composed, cinematic, harmonically dense, but not angular and alienating. And then I mean, the list goes on and on. It just gets a little further and more bizarre as I go down the trail here.
Yeah, so you have this new book, and I've seen a lot of people asking on Instagram, because some of the things you're doing are just, prog rock and the weird music fans are like super into strange rhythms and stuff, and that's not where you're coming from necessarily. I mean, especially with samba type stuff, but this stuff's pretty universal, right? I mean, and in this book, you're going to be sharing what, like who should be buying this book and checking it out?
I mean, it's definitely drummer centric. The rhythmic concepts would apply to a number of instruments. In particular, I think pianists, people that can use more than one voice at a time, polyphonic instruments, could make use of this. It might be difficult for a guitarist, but I think keyboard players and mallet players could make use of this. But really, it's a drum-oriented book to explore the instrument, not necessarily through the lens of the familiar tropes of style, like, hey, how to play Autumn Leaves better, or hey, how to make a bossa nova feel good. It isn't about that. It's about, can we just take this instrument out for a drive? What can we do with this purely out of curiosity? Curiosity is the backbone of all of it, okay? Because I don't know of any art form that has progressed and rolled the ball forward without that being a major trait of the artists themselves. So that's kind of the support behind the book.
Okay, and the book is called Synco.
Yeah.
Tell us about the title and its inspiration.
Yeah, so Synco is a play on the full word syncopation. Syncopation for the modern drummer is probably the most used text in the pedagogy of drum set that I'm aware of. Definitely, you could make an argument for it at least. And the way it is generally used is you take some sort of ostinato-oriented rhythm with a couple limbs, and then you read some simple rhythmic phrasing out of the book. So it's a way to prove that you have mastery of the ostinato because you can sight read and play through exercises with the remaining limb. And so that has been one of the major staples of my practice routines. I don't just use the syncopation book anymore. I have my own formulas that I use and cycles of rhythms that I like to practice over my ostinatos. But I still go back to that book regularly, and I wanted to reference it.
Okay, and before people start asking, because I've already gotten the question in the live stream chat, and please ask questions if you're on the live stream. How do people buy the book, and when's it coming out?
It's a great question. So being a one-man show here, I'm a little behind schedule. I was hoping to have it all ready and for sale by the clinic I played last night here in town. But in just trying to figure out exactly the most efficient way monetarily to print it, I think it's going to make sense for me to do a pre-order and let people figure out if they can preview it, see if they are interested in it, and then get a sense of how many to make. So my Instagram is the main way that I communicate with all the folks that are dialed into the things I'm doing creatively. And so that'll be the space where I announce the pre-order information.
Okay, and that Instagram handle is in nope, I always get it wrong. This side? Let's see where my finger ends up, because on YouTube it might flip the video.
Oh,
anyway, yeah, so where it says zmillermusic, that's his Instagram handle, and you're going to go to that, and you're going to click follow, and then you're going to wait for this video to come out or post where he announces, because you will be buying this book if you're watching this video.
It'd be nice if people bought the book, but really, I'm a teacher at heart. I'm a giver. I like to be a generous person. So, all this Instagram stuff is free, and I love that. I like to make sure that the ideas get out there. The fact that they're out there is an important thing to me, because it means that I have authenticity to who I am that I'm making available for people to get a sense of.
Yeah, and the book is kind of styled differently. It's a little like Failure to Fracture, where it's full color and everything, but it looks like it's all handwritten. I'm going to share a page here. Let's see which one this is. All right. Is it the paradiddles one? Sorry. Yeah. So this is a take on the common paradiddle, but if you break the paradiddle up into 4 syllables, paradiddle, and the sticking applies to it, I doubled the sticking on the ra and created a new rudiment that was a 5-note oriented rudiment instead of 4 notes. And then found a bunch of ways to apply that. And it's, half the time, there's so many exercises based on quintuplets and fives. I kind of wonder if people are going to think I misspelled the word cinco. It was supposed to be spelled like the Spanish word cinco for 5. It's a double meaning that would be appropriate. Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever seen the show Tim and Eric, awesome show, great job, but they have this they have this fake brand called Synco that puts out all these bad products. So
okay, great.
Every time I see your book title, I think of Synco, but it's not a Synco product. It's actually just called a Synco.
So
all right.
The handwritten thing was something that was inspired by a seminar I once went to of a friend of mine who's a potter who lives in Chicago. Her name is Emily Schroeder. And she does pinch pottery. And when in her lecture that she gave, she's talked about how she chose that medium because when the final product was done, it was covered with her fingerprints. The people who purchased it, like, were holding on, like, connecting with her through the medium. And I love that sentiment of this feels personal to me. Like, creating these came from things that I love deep in my heart. And I think there's something about the handwritten thing that feels more personal, and that's as a transmission of information, I like to feel like that's a connecting piece.
Yep. Okay, so we've got one here called using the bass drum as a buffer. You want to talk
Yes.
about this page, what this means?
Yeah, so this is a strategic exercise. If you're hearing a lot of soloing where the drummers are filling a lot of non-melodic space with chatter on the snare drum, which is pretty common, and then the melody is popping out on the toms, sometimes it's hard to predict what sticking you will end up on, and so placing a bass drum note before you move to your next voice on the kit provides a time buffer to move the hand to where you want it to go. So it's a bit of I don't want to call it an insurance policy, it's just a strategy to allow you freedom to move to any part of the kit without being strapped to what hand is supposed to come in next because you have that foot. And I will say that these exercises, and my concept as a teacher, if you think of taking a student down a hallway, I think of my job as opening a door into a room and maybe setting up a couple decorative fixtures in the room, but not decorating the entire thing. I want them to take the concept and explore it and then go to another room. So all of these exercises, none of them are intended to be fully transcribed of what every option is within the concept. This is going to get the ball rolling, and you're going to take it from there. And that puts a little more of the onus on the learner to be creative. And I like that concept as a teacher.
And I mean, I'm not really about name dropping or anything like that, but you've gotten the attention of some drummers.
I mean, I'm not sure if it's just weird or entertaining. I always ask the question, do you watch this because it's like funny or it's like, is this entertainment or education or what is this to you? And I don't know, but I'm grateful to have been able to connect with some like minds, and I'm really, really grateful. Glenn Kochi in particular from Wilco also has his own side projects he does of his own drum compositions and his own curiosity. If you follow his Instagram, you'd see his beat project that he's doing. I think he's on number 150, and they're all fascinating combinations of rhythms and sounds. So it's just fun to be able to connect with like-minded people. And I just can't believe how many there are out there that find this stuff fascinating. It's very encouraging to me as a creative person to feel like, oh, there's more room, there's more brain space and headroom to apply ourselves to something with a little more academic rigor instead of down the middle mainstream.
Yeah, you've got Mark Juliana following you, Aaron Comas from the Spin Doctors. If you haven't heard these people play, by the way,
you should. Oh my gosh!
And don't be fooled if you hear them on like a pop record or something. Like all these drummers that are following, that you might have heard of, they're following Zach because they want this challenge, and that's another thing I love. I see comments from some of these guys, and it's like, "Oh, this looks awesome! I can't wait to try this."
Yes, yeah, I always encourage people to send if they have actually worked on these things, send it to me, because I've seen people reinvent these ideas in cooler ways than I thought of to begin with, and it's been really, really fun. But the resonance from people across the spectrum, from people whose minds, people whose playing blows my mind, to people I've never met. It's just the resonance is encouraging, top to bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of drums and blowing my mind, I just filmed Antonio Sanchez.
You are kidding me.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I know. His show is unbelievable. If you haven't heard his new album, it's called Shift Bad Hombre Volume 2.
Yeah.
It's
it's really cool. It's out there and it's wild.
Yeah, it's a strange album, and they did a whole lot of it too live. But I gotta say, man, Zach, when I watch your videos, not only do I love your energy and creativity, I love that you you are participating in your own joy too. And I think that's such an important thing for people to see, because there's so much on social media that's like, check this out, check out, I bet you can't do this, or I'm gonna shred or something. And you're like, I'm at the edge of possibility for myself, you know?
That's right. I mean, so last night, this clinic that I did, I very spontaneously decided I'm not going to do the normal thing where I start out with something I have full control of. I
Right.
said, because I introduced it as like, my ethic around these concepts is curiosity and adventure. And there's a risk to those things. And I said, so in the spirit of adventure and risk, will somebody give me some sort of tempo, cue, and vibe that they want me to play in right now? So someone gets up and just starts like giving me time. And I wasn't able to just lean on my own familiar, threadbare, neat ideas that I think might impress somebody. I was putting myself in a spot of authenticity to say, okay, if I say I value taking a risk, I need to be willing to fall on my face in front of these people in the spirit of going after something. And I just took it and ran with it. And I didn't necessarily love everything that came out, but it was genuine to the idea that you have to be willing to fall down and get back up again and be okay doing that in the practice room by yourself, take risks in front of an audience. There's a connection and I think a realness that people appreciated about that.
Absolutely. So you also write music, and you've got a lot of really cool tracks. We've done music together, and if anyone's watching this, check out some of the stuff that we've done. We did a Christmas song last year, Joy to the Weird, and and this year, hopefully, if you have time for some studio time, we'll do Oh Come All You Faithful and another song I've planned. But we did this crazy thing by Chan. That song was crazy. No Signal.
Right. Yes. I mean, the clinic that I gave was really related to a lot of those rhythmic ideas where you can frame whatever you're hearing. You can't necessarily assume that that your first take on what they're playing actually is the foundation. So, I mean, I'm not doing a great job explaining, but yes, that tune masks the actual meter very well and fools you a couple of times.
Yeah, and I love, Bill Bruford was famous for doing this and trying to knock people off course, like during a performance, which was always fun to watch. And then, I forgot what I was going to say, but it doesn't matter. We've got this song that you wrote, which is really cool. Why don't you set it up, and I'm going to be clicking on the Zoom stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a song from an album called Auburn Heights. And it's through composed.
My apologies.
You're good. And it's in 11/8, and it starts with these little handbells that I recorded 2 at a time. The pitches keep shifting, so I had to do the entire track with just 2 of the pitches, and the entire track with 2 other pitches until I had everything in place to piece it together. It's very textural, and the music that I wrote, you might think being a drummer that it's drum heavy, but it's actually very sparse. There's an orchestral, there's a dear nature to orchestral music, which is where percussion provides the small pieces in the right place instead of an overpowering the music. It supports it. You'll see it on the track. It is not very dense from the drums. It just is exploring some interesting coordinations in this 11/8 context, and hope you enjoy it.
Here we go. That was really cool. I love that
Thanks.
piece.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that one.
Um, just one thing before we go, I guess. Um, why do you write pieces in odd time signatures? Is it to sound funky?
No, it isn't. I just think, I mean, we've used the word curiosity a good amount. That's a part of it, but something grooving is not necessarily innate to a meter. It's about familiarity. So these feels groove to me, but only because there's enough exposure I've had that there's a predictability to it, right? Like the symmetry of 4/4 or the symmetry of 6/8 offers a wonderful comfort zone for predictability. 11/8 doesn't hang. You can't hang your hat as easily on it. It takes an investment to feel that. But I think they groove to me just like anything else, but only because it's become predictable and familiar. So if we can all just put a little more time into it, I think we'd enjoy it a lot more because it doesn't have to be alienating. It's just unfamiliar.
Totally agree. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
I also think that rhythmic, creative rhythms are easier and more palatable for people to digest than unfamiliar harmonies and melodies. Dissonance in harmony is more alienating than dissonance in rhythm. So I think it's a better place to push boundaries.
I agree. And you can break through. There's a big difference between like playing outside harmonically and playing outside rhythmically. Rhythmically, you can mask something with something else, but harmonically, your ears are like, ooh, that's uncomfortable, But rhythm is rarely uncomfortable unless you like stray so far, off the course. But man, some of these guys have these internal clocks that are just astounding, and they just land right back on the one,
I mean, like you mentioned, Antonio Sanchez, he's just the way he can reframe a pulse for a while, then come back to where the band is, and everybody. It's not just him that's
I know.
mind-blown. It's
Yeah.
everyone else who can follow it and hang with it. It's really inspiring.
I don't know if you know, he played every instrument on that Shift album.
Did he?
Yeah, except for the guest instruments. He played guitar, keyboards, bass,
Oh, dude.
drums. The guy and he produced and mixed the whole thing too. So in case
Dude,
you
that's
weren't already feeling bad about yourself.
I know. Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Gosh. So that Trike Turn Spaceship tune is not nearly as complex as his stuff. But I did touch enough of the instruments to make it feel like my own.
Yeah, that's an awesome track. It's an awesome track. We have one question from Sharon Baker, and I have a quick question for you as well. Sharon is, any discussion with a drummer from Minnesota has to involve the great loss to the community that was Mimi Parker from Low. Are you familiar with her?
I have not. I never did meet her, unfortunately, but a number of my friends were very influenced not only by her music, but by her as a human being. And my understanding from my friends that are closer to the situation is that she was a dear person to have lost. Yeah.
And then my quick question is, did you get involved with that Peter Gabriel project?
I did. I never heard any of the final project.
Yeah, it's not out. I mean, they've
Okay.
done 7 volumes, 8 volumes, but there's like, I don't know, 30, 40 more songs to get through, including the one that I recorded. But I thought you were involved with it, and I wasn't sure.
I mean, if the part made the cut, I'm still in there. I think there may be two or three songs that I tracked for it. Yeah.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, so we interviewed Jeremy Ness a while back about that too. So if you want to check this out, he's got a whole project where he's like reimagining the entire Peter Gabriel catalog, and it's called Through the Wire. So look it up on Bandcamp. Anyway, all right, Zach, thank you so much for giving us your time and your talent and making this book. I think it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to check it out.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for the invite. I'm so glad to be a part of this.
Excellent. And I also want to spend a second thanking the Club Weird members here on the chat. Really appreciate you guys showing up. And if you want to support Make Weird Music, there's a little join button down below the YouTube player. We have $3 a month, $5 a month, and $10 a month packages. And it's just to help sustain this thing so I don't get in trouble from my family for spending grocery money on cameras.
Yeah. Gotta support it. It's crucial. It's crucial.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to end the stream. I think think it takes a few seconds, but yeah.
Yeah.
See you guys. Thank you for joining.
Thanks.
I'm gonna awkwardly stare at the screen until I see the ending of our stream. Okay, I think I ended it.